I'm just
Like,
tired of remakes.
why? I never understood that.
What?
People are tired of remakes. I never understood that.
Because one, why is it making a remake if it's already a good thing? Someone can go watch it. Two, the problem is the percentage of films that come out nowadays that are remakes. There's always been remakes, but it hasn't made as high, like it hasn't been as high a percentage of films. Most films that at least get marketing nowadays that go theatrical are either remakes or they're tied to IP. That's the majority of the
Really?
films that go
Let's
theatrical.
think about it.
Whereas before you'd have more of a mix. There's, as we've discussed before, and there was also that viral clip where I think which white dude was it?
I don't know.
Matt Damon. That's what I'm thinking of. Where he was talking about how the death of home video killed the mid-budget movie.
Yeah.
So now it's either you're going to have a massive amount of money spent for a film, big budget, 100 million plus for an IP, or you're going to have like under $20 million movies. So you're missing that mid-range that used to be where you would take chances and have different type of stories told. Now it's like if we can make a remake of an IP for less than $20 million, which I'm pretty sure that movie we're talking about, Why Men Can't Jump remake, I bet it probably falls in that category of being a remake of an original film, and that was popular, and it was probably less than 20 million.
For sure.
Which is probably why it went straight to streaming.
Yeah, definitely.
But that is definitely like it checks the boxes an executive will look at. Where, because they're executives nowadays, because all the film companies belong to public companies, they do whatever they can to protect their job. And if they can check as many boxes as possible on something working, they're going to go with those. And that's why you don't see as many original films unless somebody who's making it has established himself.
Yeah. I get why they make it. I don't get why people are mad. I mean, I guess there's too many remakes. I guess that's an issue.
Yeah, it's just more of an overall complaint that a lot of people have from the fact of there's just so many remakes. And
but
then if
there?
Disney makes a new movie nowadays, live action, it's always just an adaptation of an already existing movie.
But what live action movie has Disney made that wasn't a remake or wasn't like a original story before?
Live action wise, I would have to actually go and look.
I just can't remember the last time that actually happened. That was like a big movie.
It's happened, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking recent years. But
yeah,
they've had like original. But here's also the thing is like, are we considering like the big Disney part? Or are we talking about like any of their subsidiaries? Because you could consider like a Disney Channel makes their original movies based on their shows.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Disney Channel.
Yeah, that's what I mean is like, are we talking about
theatrical releases?
Like, this is Disney.
I'm talking about theatrical releases, whether it be subsidiaries or just Disney in general, overall. The subsidiary, whatever.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay. That is a good one. Big franchise.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it's based on the theme park. They've done a bunch of theme park-based movies. They had one recently with The Rock.
You're right. Actually, there's like a Haunted Mansion is coming out. But I guess what I'm trying to say is all Disney IP stuff.
Yeah.
That they make.
But those aren't remakes.
But they are remaking it. Like Haunted Mansion's a remake.
Well, I'm not talking about that one because I don't even know the fuck. I don't know.
Because Haunted Mansion, have you seen the one with Eddie Murphy back in the day?
Mm-mm.
I don't know if it's the same thing.
I don't think it's the same thing.
I think it is, but
because I think Pirates of the Caribbean was the first time that they actually made a live action movie from a theme park ride, and then it hit, and they're like, okay, we'll do this more.
I know for a fact the Haunted Mansion is the same. So there's Haunted Mansion. I just want to preface that we don't know if you need information.
This podcast, we just say shit.
Yeah, but Haunted Mansion, there's multiple like types of Haunted Mansion stuff. Like there's a Paris Haunted Mansion. There's one in I don't know if it's Paris, but there's one like in Europe.
Paris.
And then there's one in the US, and they're like the same thing, but it's like different, you know? So I'm not sure if there's different like types of stories with the Haunted Mansion. Like there's different stories. But anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like remakes aren't a bad thing.
And themselves aren't necessarily a bad thing. It's just the volume percentage of versus
even the volume. I think
if you got more like different types of shit being made, like more original stuff, then I think it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But it just has to do with like the biggest company in the world, the biggest film company right now, based on just pure revenue. All of their films are either superhero films from Marvel, making Star Wars franchise movies that they had purchased Star Wars, remakes of their animated films that have already existed for many, many years. And that's basically, and the only other things they make is just stuff that they already own the IP on. And I think that just kind of rubs audiences the wrong way. Granted, here's the thing: is people say that, but then people go and watch all of the fucking remakes, and then go and watch original movies.
And a lot of remakes are good and entertaining.
I mean, good is subjective.
Well, it's hard for you to say that because you haven't really seen movies. Like
I'm just talking about like it's just overall audience opinion on stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's what I think. I think the audience opinion is based on the fact that there's just so many remakes, so it's like they just have that opinion before even like going to see.
Well, the danger of remaking anything is you're gonna have people that go into it that are fans of the original. They're like, "Why the fuck are you touching this?"
I guess that's what I'm saying. If I'm a fan of original, I'm like, please touch it. Like, please remake it. Pause. Yeah. Like, please remake it. I want to see it. I want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Why?
See it again.
You're the only person I've ever heard say that.
Because why not? It's something that I like.
If something is great, why the fuck would you like? Okay, what's the older movie that you fucking love?
Kill Bill.
And now if some random fucking director goes and remakes Kill Bill, you're just gonna fucking be all in?
Okay,
fuck out of here.
I wouldn't say a random. If Quentin Tarantino wanted to remake Kill Bill, I'll be all for it.
So he's not.
Okay, but I'm saying, of course he's not. That's why it's made. But
and I think he's also anti-remake.
I don't know. His.
But he's kind of like one of those film pretentious motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there is no issue. There's like for music, for example, there's a lot of interpolation. There's a lot of samples that are really good.
But here's the thing: they're taking like an element of something and turning into something new.
Yeah, a lot of remakes aren't the exact same thing. It's like a.
I would say here. I guess here's an example of what you're saying right there is the difference between a sample and just doing a full on like a cover. I think is what you can differentiate between what you're trying to say with what you can do with a remake versus what usually happens with a remake. So if you just take like the chord progression of a song with like a voice, like a vocal sample, and then you flip it into something completely different like Kanye did for many, many years, where he would just speed it up, chop it up like crazy and turn it into something completely different sounding. If you're familiar with the original, you can see those elements, but the overall sound and structure of the song is going to be completely different. Whereas if you take like where a lot of big like random songs you hear now, it's like they will literally just almost redo the same song in a lot of ways. Or you can have like a full on cover where you can change up the instruments and everything, but the song itself is still the same. And I think what you're saying with the remake, most remakes are more like a cover than they are of like a complete like sample of something. I think sampling would be more of like what Tarantino does, where like he'll take like sequences from a film or shots from other films from older movies, and he turns it into something different within a largely original story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But I'm also talking about like covers. I think covers are cool. I think remakes of songs are cool. Like I don't have any issues with that at all. I don't. And it confuses me when people do, because it's like, first off, hella people still go out to see it and enjoy it. So it's like, do y'all really have an issue with it? Because if y'all don't, then these movies would not make it as much money, and they wouldn't keep trying to remake movies.
Well, I mean, this is what I was saying earlier. Is the problem is they keep making enough money. Where I don't know, maybe if it's the same group of people, or people go in there to hate watch it, or if it's just enough people just don't give a shit about anything, and they're just like, feed me whatever. And I'm just like, oh, I'm used to seeing this name. Let me go watch that. Or because what Star is Born, they did their fourth fucking time remaking that movie.
What movie?
Star is Born.
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it.
I've never seen any of them.
Yeah.
I think the most recent one was Lady Gaga and is it Bradley Cooper? It's one of those.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah.
I get him and like three other white dudes confused.
Yeah. I like Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, basically what I'm just saying is I think the problem is they keep doing enough money to keep making them. And then original films don't do enough for like companies to take chances on them. So we've just gotten in this place where a majority of films get released are based on IP or a remake. And that's made a lot of people frustrated, but they don't support the other shit. And I think that's why A24 has been able to make like a space for themselves, is they're doing full on original films. Granted, like The Green Knight is based on Arthurian legend, but that's also public domain, so it's a little bit different. But they make these weird original films and they market directly to people that want to watch that. and they've been able to make a space for themselves. Whereas the bigger companies, they're trying to hit broad audiences.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I feel like it is a kind of a complicated conversation just off the remakes versus that. But like original movies in general with creative stories, whatever. I mean, a lot of times they are misses that we just don't talk about. I feel like
Yeah,
like
most of the time.
Ari Aster came out with the I forgot the movie's called, but it's recent
Who?
drop. Ari Aster, he did. He works for A24. They released a movie recently. Bo Was Afraid.
What other movies has he done?
I forgot. I think I want to say he did. Not Hereditary. I want to say that, but I don't think he did.
Yeah.
But basically, he's like just this creative, unique kind of storyteller. And that movie bombed. Movie didn't do good at all. It had Joaquin Phoenix in it. But but it's like I just get confused when people like have that argument or get mad at that, because it's like there's all types of movies that are not good. Like whether it be remakes, whether it be creative, whatever. I just enjoy remakes. I enjoy the original. I enjoy all types of movies. And it's just confusing when, not confusing, but I just don't understand it really when people have that argument.
I guess my thought would be is there is a portion that's very vocal of people that, of course, pay attention to what's current in pop culture that I think it comes down to is people can pick up to a certain degree, and it varies between person to person, intent. And I think a lot of times when people see like a new remake, they see the intent of like, the intent is not to like, maybe the director who did it or the writer who did it had the intention to make like as good as possible and pay respects or do something different with it, like on purpose, but while keeping respect for the original product. I think the issue is people can kind of tell the machine behind it doesn't truly have the intention of giving a fuck about the original while they're doing a remake. The machine's thought process is this made money before, remakes make enough money, whereas originals on a spreadsheet don't make as much. You don't have the same return for your investment percentage wise.
That's a better argument.
I think the people pick up that intention of this is not to pay respect to the original, it's to make a quick buck.
Yeah, that's a better argument. That is a better argument for sure. And I want to like argue back with like what movies are there that have that, you know, that feel like where studios just don't give a fuck about, like remakes.
What I mean by give a fuck, I mean like
I understand
they're what they give a fuck about is they see, hey, we spend $20 million on this original film, and this director isn't fucking somebody who's done this before, like a Jordan Peele who's built his way up, proving his original ideals will bring money back, or a Christopher Nolan, or many other directors that have been able to get themselves in that position where people buy into the director, so then they'll buy into the film, regardless of what they make. So if they don't have that, if the director who's making that film does not have that same draw, then giving them $20 million versus giving $20 million to a remake, the chances percentage-wise to make the money back when they look at the amount of films that have been remakes that have ended up at least breaking even versus original films from a director who doesn't have the track record of constantly making money back, they'll go, I have a 60%, I don't know if these actual percentages, but I have a 60% chance of recouping my money with this remake. But if I went the same amount of money into this original idea, I have maybe a 20% chance of getting that money back.
I get it.
So as the executive whose job is on the line, I can say, hey, I made the smart decision based on the percentages. And then that's why that movie gets made over an original idea.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I think that people pick up that intention from the machine. And again, I think majority of the public doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I think it's more the people that are more tied into like caring about movies, talking about movies, paying attention to what the fuck is going on. Like most people couldn't tell you the difference between Disney and then one of their subsidiaries.
Yeah.
Or they couldn't tell you the difference between Universal and Paramount.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Whereas other people are more tapped in. It's like, oh, this is a Paramount movie. This is a Universal movie. Universal usually does this, Paramount owns these IPs, so they usually make these,
Yeah, for sure. And I also understand
those people are going to be more sensitive to knowing, okay, we know why this movie is getting made.
Yeah,
they know how the sausage is made, essentially. Whereas if you don't, then you're like, oh, this Frank's hot dog tastes delicious.
Yeah, for sure. And I also understand there are certain things that don't need to be remade. Like Peter Pan. I feel like why remake that? I could have just let it be.
Didn't they remake that already?
Yeah, there's a Peter Pan on Disney Plus, I think. Not Hook, but it's actual like another Peter Pan remake. And I get it. There's some remakes that are just like you don't need remake, but I feel like most of the remakes is like whatever. Like White Man Can't Jump, I've never seen it. And was it even that big of a movie back then anyway?
It was one of those movies that was kind of like a cultural movie.
Yeah. So it's like
where it was like they made it cheap. It got big within certain communities.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe like Menace to Society, I don't think was that massive of a movie, but it had its niches.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies like that in the culture.
And I think
like
I think White Man Can't Jump is just one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, that's funny.
Have we turned that into a conversation?
I have no idea. But yeah, that shit was funny. White Man Can't Jump.
No, yeah.
At the end of the story, yeah. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I don't know. Did you watch anything recently? Of course.
Just some anime in there, but that's about it.
I already know the answer to that question every time, actually.
And?
I don't know. You got to go watch something. You should have watched Guardians of the Galaxy. You would have had a great time. I want to go see Little Mermaid, too.
I'm not watching Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I want to see it.
But I've only said that every single episode we've talked about it.
We talked about Little Mermaid before?
It was just briefly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't watch Disney remakes of animated films. Granted, Little Mermaid was never my bag anyways.
I've never seen the original.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you watched anything? Anything before 2005?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, of course I have, but like,
Did you not just grow up watching all different random shit?
I did. That's why I said I don't remember every single thing that I watched. I watched all types of stuff. Like
you never saw the original fucking Lion King.
I feel like I have. I just don't remember every single detail like everybody else does. Like I have the Lion King what do you call it? The tape in the little orange
VHS?
Yeah, VHS. I had the Lion King. What else did I have? I had the Rugrats.
The orange Rugrats one?
Yeah, I had that, but I don't remember anything from the movie. Like bits and pieces.
You're in Paris, I remember that.
Bits and pieces.
I heard the movie starts off there like in a greenhouse or some shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to remember my childhood like that, honestly. But the Lion King remake was good. I enjoyed it.